Good morning, Morai Rabotai, Bruchim Abayim. We are continuing on Masechet Makkot. We are at the very bottom of Daf Yudalit, Amud Aleph, about 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. This Amud is being learned as a schud for the Neshama V'Sterbad, Naftalim Tzvi HaLevi, the Neshama should have an Aliyah, as a schud for Yehuda ben Asher and Anael bat Tzipora. Yimala Hashem et kol mishalut libam letova be'ezrat Hashem. It has been dedicated also for Refuah Shel Ma Mordechai Afshin ben Shoshana Sha'anaz. Should have Refuah Shelema for the Refuah Shema of David ben Ferashteh. Should have Refuah Shelema, and also has been specifically dedicated for the Refuah Shema of Rachel Simcha Bad Nahid. That should have full recovery. Refuah Shema be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. This month's learnings of the community have been sponsored graciously by the Dayan family, my Kohen family, my Shei family. Should have be an ultimate schut for all of their families. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Okay, so we are in a real Talmudic back and forth of how you learn different drashot, and you have to really hold your mind on how the Gemara goes back and forth between each one of the 3 shitas, how each one of them would deal with the proofs and the problems of the other side, and why they don't learn like the other one is the back and forth of the Gemara. A lot of idach, the other one, how does he deal with this, and so on. So we're really smack in the middle of that, dealing with the last Amud. We dealt primarily with the Shita of Rabbi Yitzchak, who holds that not only you do not get Malkut when you have a Chiyuv Mitav and a person has death penalty, but also you do not get Malkut when you have Chiyuv Karet, right? And he learned it from a Pasuk, and the Gemara went back and forth to try to understand how exactly these principles are learned from the Psukim. And the last thing that we discussed was that it seems to be an extra word achoto in the very pasuk that we dealt with, because again I'll read to you the pasuk in Vayikra Perek Chaf pasuk Yud Zayin from the side. Ve'ish asher yikach et achoto, a person that would have a illicit relationship with his sister, bat aviv or bat imo, who is either your sister from the father's side or your sister from the mother's side. If they have a relationship, they will get karet, both of them. Ervat achoto gila, again at the end it says ervat achoto gila, he has had illicit relationship with his sister. Avono yisa, he will carry, he will tolerate, he will have to deal with his avon. So the Gemara said this last part of the pasuk seems to be extra. Why in the world do you need to tell me achoto? You told me achoto already. So said the Gemara, Yitzchak is coming to learn that from this achoto you see that a person gets separate chiyuv karet for every shem erva that you have. So if you have, for instance, the example that the Gemara gave, that a person married his sister, who is also his father's sister, who is also his mother's sister, all at once. And Mara said, how you have that? You'll have it if a person is a Rasha ben Rasha, a wicked man that had 2 children with his own mother, 2 sisters, and then married one of those and had a boy from that which married the other sister that was born. So that person is his sister, is his aunt from the father, is his aunt from the mother. So it's one person that has 3 different names, right? And from that, we learned that you have 3 different separate chataot that you will be chayav. I said, okay, fine. What do Chachamim do with that? I mean, it is extra achoto there. And Mara said, no. You have to understand that there is a klal in Gemara throughout Shas that Chachamim actually learn it from here. And that is, when you have a pasuk that tells you, if you go with your half-sister from the father, or half-sister from the mother, you get karet. If the smart one in the room would get up and say, what happens with your full sister from mother and father? What would be the halacha? It should be a kal vachomer, right? If you tell me a half sister from mother gets karet, half sister from father gets karet, of course it should be kal vachomer, ben benosh kal vachomer, that full sister should get karet, right? So it should be punishable. So it says the Gemara, no, we don't learn to give punishments from kal vachomer. En onshin minadin. This is one of the Shas-wide, worldwide concepts of Shas, which we learn actually from this pasuk say Chachamim. Chachamim are coming to teach. They say the Torah is coming to teach us by the achoto, by mentioning achoto at the end of the pasuk, to tell you even a full sister you will get punished. I would know full sister from a logical discourse of kal vachomer. If half sister is for sure full sister, when you're punishing somebody, you're not allowed to be creative in a logical discourse. It has to have a clear source in the Chumash. And clear source we gave you. Because I told you achoto bat aviv, achoto bat imo. I told you the half-sister maternal, half-sister paternal. And I told you at the end an extra achoto to teach you a full sister. Fine, gewaldig. Now, the Gemara is going to turn the tables and say, wait a second. But this is, as we said, a Shas-wide concept. Everybody agrees that en onshin min hadin. It's not a subject to a refutement at machloket. There's no arguments about the fact that you cannot punish through a kal vachomer en onshin. So you need a pasuk for full sister, right? So how do Chachamim know full sister? If you don't, Rabbi Yitzchak, how does Rabbi Yitzchak know? You have to tell me from somewhere. So says the Gemara, Ve'idach, this is the last line now. Ve'idach ibait ema. Gemara says two options for how Rabbi Yitzchak knows that. Gamar onesh me'azhara. He's not doing kal vachomer, but he has a mamatzinu. That you could do. He's learning the onesh, the punishment from azhara. Because when the Torah gives punishments, there's always en onshin ela imken mazhirin. It's another concept. So that you cannot punish if you have not given me a warning. So if the warning of the Torah includes in it also a full sister, and then I tell you that all these people get punished, even though that I did not spell out the full sister, you could learn the fact that full sister will be punished from the fact that the full sister has been clearly and explicitly given an azhara for. So that's one way that Rabbi Yitzchak could learn the punishment of a full sister of achoto me'aviv u'me'imo. Or, says the Gemara, ve'ibait ema nafkale me'achoto deresha. Or, I conveniently will tell you that you missed one extra achoto. I'm going to read the pasuk. You won't believe this. I'm going to read you the pasuk again, and you'll see we missed one achoto. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, no. You don't understand. Yes, the last achoto of the pasuk is coming to teach you on Shin Minadin, but there is a first achoto in the pasuk that's coming to teach you a full sister from both father and mother. Now let's read the same pasuk I just read you a minute ago again. You ready? Ve'ish asher yikach et achoto. A person that would marry his sister, and then comma explains bat aviv or bat imo. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, can I suggest something? Take the achoto out, and it will read like this: Ve'ish asher yikach et bat aviv or et bat imo. What does that mean? The daughter of your father is what? Your uncle? Of course it's your sister. Why in the world do you have to say a person that would marry their sister which means the daughter of their mother, or the daughter, just tell me, if you want to tell me half-sisters, just tell me if you marry the daughter of your mother, or the daughter of your father, and you have told me already half-sisters. So what's the achoto in the beginning of the pasuk? So Yitzchak, that is exactly coming to teach you a full sister. So that's how the pasuk reads. If you marry your sister, which means full sister, comma, or a half-sister from your father, or a half-sister from your mother. All three of them are already said. So what do I do with the last achoto in the pasuk? Ervat achoto gila, avono yisa, is coming to teach me an onshin minadin, and I'm set to go. Fascinating, right? Everything is in the same pasuk. So now when I scratch as it says, so what will Rabbanan do with that? This is like a game of, okay, so ve'idach, and the other one, hahu mibayile lechalek karet lemefatem ulesach. Now the Gemara makes a leap. We have two different lavim in the Torah when it comes to shemen hamishcha. So we spoke about this briefly when we did the Mishnah. You are not allowed to make, forget about using it, you're not allowed to make the recipe of shemen hamishcha. If you make the recipe of shemen hamishcha, bad news. You transgressed a full-fledged lav in the Torah. You're also not allowed to use it. If you made it, I cannot rub it on my hand and use it for my personal pleasure either, even though I didn't make it. So I'm not allowed to make it, I'm not allowed to use it. Two separate isurim. If I didn't know, I'm reading a book about shemen hamishcha, has all the ingredients with the measurements and this, I'm like, awesome. An ancient recipe for a new cure, whatever, right? And you go make this and you rub it, and you have no idea that this is asur. How many chataot do I have to bring? Behelem echad. With the same ignorance, I didn't know it's asur to make it. I didn't know it's asur to rub it. And I did it. I did both. Am I chayav one because it was with one ignorance? Or am I chayav two because I transgressed at the end of the day two different isurim? Do I get one karet or two karets? And the nafkamina is, if it is b'shogeg, do I bring one chatat or two korban chatats? Right? Massive nafkamina. Because they're said together in the pasuk, right? Let's take a look at the Gemara, and then we'll go through the psukim. Ve'idach ha'u mibayle lechalek karet lemefatem ulasach. So Chachamim say, no, I need that achoto of the Resh. Oh, you think I missed that? I missed that. But that's coming to teach you a completely different sugya. I don't need it, right? Chachamim will say, well, I know everything that I need to know about karet of achoto. I already said everything to you. The fact that it says achoto at the end is coming to teach you the last concept that I needed to know, and therefore the achoto de resha I don't need, because it's not like Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak needs the achoto de resha to teach you what? Full sister. I already know full sister, Chachamim say. So if I know full sister and I know enon shim minadin, what do I do with the achoto de resha? Gemara says I need that for a similar concept in a different realm. There is another concept. There's a lot of concepts today. It's another concept in Shas. Im eno inyan tenahu inyan. That sometimes the Torah tells you a chidush in din which is absolutely not necessary for its own place, and it's coming to teach you a connection, a bridge of that halacha for a different topic. So say Chachamim, this is one such case. Right? Don't worry, I'll explain it well. Bezat Hashem. So it says the Gemara, this is coming to teach you the following: that if you make a shemen hamishcha and you rub it, and the isur is said together at once, one pasuk, which I would have thought that if you have such a pasuk, it's coming to indicate that you will get only one karet, and therefore you will only bring one chatat. But no. Every single time that you do an avera and another avera, even though that they're set together in the Chumash, if there are two different lavim that get karet, you do them at once with the same ignorance, you will be chayav two karets, you will be chayav two chataot. How do I know that? As an umbrella concept, how do I know that? Says Chachamim, we know it from the very place that the Torah first introduces this concept of lechalek. In other words, say Chachamim, I know from this very pasuk of achoto, of marrying a sister. You remember in the beginning of previous shiur, we discussed that the Torah singled out in Parashat Kedoshim an extra time about sister being chayav karet to teach you lechalek. In other words, the Torah in the beginning of introducing the illicit relationships tells you 15 different people who are considered erva, and it says all of these people, if you do this, you get karet, right? So I don't know if I do all 15 and I don't know that this is asur, should I get 1 or 15? I don't know that until Parashat Kedoshim. Parashat Kedoshim, the Torah singles out sister and says if a person goes to sister karet. And then what I asked, why do you have to single it? As I already know sister is karet. And what I said is coming lechalek. It's coming to tell you that even if you do separate isure karet with the same ignorance, you didn't know that on this and that and the other, all these 15 are chayav karet, and you did all of them, you get 15 different chataot you have to bring, 15 different times of karet, even though that was o be'elemecha. You see that from the pasuk that we just read by Achoto. So say Chachamim, once the Torah is added, he also teaches you that this is not only limited to karet of illicit relationships. It is coming to teach you that by any karet, anywhere in the Torah, if you have this same scenario, you will get different karets. For instance, by mefatem v'sach. If you make the recipe of shemen hamishcha, which a person is not allowed to do, is a lav in the Torah, one of the Taryag, and you also rubbed it on your body, even though that it was the same ignorance, you still would have 2 chataot. How do I know it? The same pasuk says an extra word of achoto to tell you it's not only by achoto, it's also across the board by everything in the Torah. Here you see why this is mentioned here, because this is the pasuk in the Torah that teaches you different karets will all count, even though that you are in the same ignorance. And therefore, it says an extra achoto to tell you anytime you have a bunch of karets that you did together, you'll get a karet for every single one of them. There's no package deal by karet and chiyuv chatat. And how do I know that it's talking about that? Because I don't need it, say Chachamim, for its own reason. But the Torah in this pasuk is teaching me this concept. So it's not like, Rabbi, where did you get connection between mefatem shemen hamishcha with achoto? Because the achoto is the pasuk in Chumash is teaching you this concept of lechalek, of different chataot, different karets, counting each one for itself, even though that there's only, it's the same ignorance that the person didn't know. So that's, right? Yeah? Anybody with me? Good. Baruch Hashem. So says, the Gemara. So that's what Chachamim needed for. Rabbi Elazar, idach, he says, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yitzchak, what does Rabbi Yitzchak do with that? In other words, Rabbi Yitzchak has to deal with that too. If I would ask Rabbi Yitzchak, if I made shemen hamishcha and I robbed it and I didn't know, how many chataot? What would he say? 1? No, he would say also 2. Where does he learn it from? He doesn't have that achotot to teach me. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, I don't need an extra limud. Why? Savar Rabbi Elazar. Amar Rabbi Hoshaya. Because Rabbi Elazar, in the name of Rabbi Hoshaya, said a conceptual thing. The Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Hoshaya, Kol makom shata motze shnei lavin v'karet. Any place that you have 2 separate lavin, and then their punishment is mentioned together, wrapped in one, like here. It says you cannot make shemen hamishcha. You cannot rub shemen hamishcha. That means even if I didn't make it, I can't take it from him and rub it. And the Torah says the lavim separately, the prohibition is mentioned separately. If that's the case, even though that when it says karet, it says if you do this or that, you'll get karet, it's coming to tell you get 2 karets. That's a blanket rule, says Rabbi Hoshaya. I don't need an extra pasuk. This is a rule of thumb anywhere in Chumash. If the lavim are separate, even though that the punishments are mentioned together, you will still get 2. So I'll read it inside. The Amar Rabbi Lazar Amar Rabbi Hoshaya. Kol makom shata motze shne lavim vekaret echad. If you have 2 lavim and 1 karet is mentioned for both of them, chalukin hen lekorban. You will end up bringing 2 korbanot of chatat if you did them b'shogeg. Amazing. So basically, Rabbi Yishmael says, I hold Rabbi Lazar. I don't need the pasuk of achoto. So therefore, the first achoto, I use it for its own sake of teaching me full sister. Right? So says the Gemara, or I could tell you that Rabbi Yitzchak does not hold of Rabbi Lazar. He doesn't, Rabbi Yitzchak does not hold like Rabbi Lazar, and he learns it. You remember that I threw this ranch in the previous shiur, jumped the gun on the Gemara basically. The Gemara says that you have in Parashat Kedoshim, and one of the 15 is singled out, which is sister, achoto, right? But if you remember, I mentioned that there's another one that's singled out, and that is nida. So this is where the Gemara brings that in. Gemara says, excuse me, but there's another exception made by the Torah also, and that's where Rabbi Yitzchak gets where he gets from. By isha dava, because the pasuk says, ish asher ishkav et isha dava, a person that goes with a nida, and I'll read you the whole pasuk from the side. V'gila et ervata, and he has a illicit relationship with this nida, who is one of the 15 arayot that we mentioned as a package in the parasha of arayot. Et mekorah hera, v'higileta et mekor dameha, and therefore nichletu shenehem mikerev amam. Both of them get karet, right? Could be your wife, could be any nida, could be a woman that hasn't even been married ever, but hasn't gone to mikveh ever. You get karet, right? Fine. So says the Gemara, that is extra. And that is coming to teach me, says the Gemara, that it's extra, we don't need it. So why do you mention it? It's coming to teach me the general worldwide concept of if you have 2 different Isurei Karet, you do both of them behelem echad with one ignorance, you get 2 different chataot. So mefatem shemen hamishcha v'sach, if you make the matkonet, the recipe of shemen hamishcha, and you also rub it on your body, how many chatats do you have to bring? So how do I know? Because there's singled out in Parashat Arayot an extra time, not just achoto, but also nida, to teach me this very thing. And then Mara says, okay, so what Chachamim do with that? Right? It's, again, back and forth, back and forth. So what Chachamim do? It's extra. Why do you need nida? You told me achoto already. Why do you need nida again? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan is coming to teach you the halacha that Rabbi Yochanan said, Damar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Minayin shein isha teme'a at sheyetze matve derech ervat. How do you know a woman becomes nida? Only when she has bleeding from the uterine. How do you, if it's not from uterus, if maybe if she sees blood from her nose, she becomes nida. Right? Because the other one just talks about seeing blood. So how do you know it's bleeding through a vaginal canal of uterus, of mekorda? The Gemara says you see it from this pasuk. There's no other place that you see it. It says in the pasuk, "Shenemar veish asher yishkav et isha dava," says a woman is nida, and says how do you become nida? Vegila et ervata et mekor dameha. That mekor dameha, the makor of the dam nida, is from makom erva, from the vaginal canal. So that says the Gemara. That is the drasha of Chachamim. Let's just finish it until the two dots next line. It teaches you that a woman does not become nida until you have a bleeding through the mekor damim, which is from uterus. So that's really the full scope of the back and forth of Rabbi Yitzchak with Chachamim, and their arguments. Of course, the halacha is like Chachamim over here, and we will, B'ezrat Hashem, continue this in the days to come.